new VA hospital in Aurora is getting ready to open 5 years late.
The design is so poorly done.
Well, what do you expect when you skimp on costs, $1.7 billion? Hey, Arvada, Wheat Ridge, you wanted the G-line. Get used to this new sound. Long after they're done racing at 300 miles an hour, an entire sports team will donate their brains to science. And it's Friday, July 20th, the same day and date as it was 6 years ago, when we learned the names of 12 people who we never got to meet. We'll remember them next. The new VA hospital in Aurora is about to open. There's going to be a fancy ribbon cutting tomorrow with politicians and other important people. Patients won't be seen there until 1 week from tomorrow. And if that sounds exciting, you've forgotten that the hospital was supposed to open 5 years ago and not cost as much as a professional sports franchise. The VA apparently forgot that when they emailed us this promotional video.
The 1.2 million square foot facility is ideally located just off Interstate 225 and immediately west of RTD's light rail station. It boasts new and innovative approaches to providing veterans with the best possible healthcare experience. Our patient rooms are private, with plenty of natural light and space for relaxed family visits.
You know what? That's nice. When you're in a hospital, you at least want a pleasant experience. And there are services the new hospital will have that the old one doesn't, like a center for spinal cord injuries. But here's what the VA's promotional video forgets to mention. The hospital is more than $1 billion over budget, costing about $1.7 billion instead of the estimated $537 million when it was supposed to open 5 years ago. It's twice the size, but will require the VA hospital near 9th and Colorado to stay open at least 3 more years. That's because the new hospital does not have enough primary care space or a PTSD center, which had to be cut because the hospital was so far over budget. And then there's the concern of how injured and older veterans will get from the parking areas to their appointments, which I asked Congressman Mike Coffman about earlier today. How was mobility for injured, disabled, elderly taken into account with the layout of this place?
The design is so poorly done. And the fact is, this is double the square footage with the same number of beds. You might get a visa, I think, from somebody moving from inpatient to just get an x-ray.
How do you get someone from the garage to the building if they are in a wheelchair, if they're elderly? Are we solving that problem, or are we just living with this is a bad design?
No, the VA is looking at mobility issues like the equivalent of having golf carts that are electric motors move people within the facility.
Is that going to be an ongoing cost that we didn't anticipate?
It will be an operational cost that I doubt that was anticipated.
Coffman sits on the House Veteran Affairs Committee, which the VA would need to go in front of if it wants more money for a project already $1 billion too much. I also asked Coffman about his tweet from earlier this week criticizing President Trump after meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Finland. Putin's Russia isn't our friend, he tweeted, won't be an ally, and most certainly won't stop their rogue behavior against our country, our allies, and our interests. President Trump should never take Putin's word at face value and should give greater consideration to U.S. intelligence agencies over the Kremlin's rhetoric. I guess that means Coffman won't want to meet with Putin if he comes to Washington, D.C. this fall.
No, and nor do I think the president should meet with Putin. And particularly the president should be meeting with Putin alone. The image that the president, in my view, presented in Helsinki was one of weakness. And so I think it's the wrong direction for the country.
We also talked about Coffman's net neutrality bill to bring back equal speeds to online content, and I asked him if he thinks Roe v. Wade should be reconsidered if a new case comes before the next Supreme Court. After you're done watching Next, go watch the full interview on the Next YouTube channel.
I'm mad as hell, and I don't want to take it anymore.
Remember how upset the Arvada mayor was last week about the G-line, the train from Union Station through Arvada to Wheat Ridge that was not open, or as this jokester wrote, not ever going to open? Well, guess what? We have some good news. RTD is one step closer to opening, but that staircase is quite large. Federal railroad regulators gave the okay for RTD to start the next phase of testing, which means trains will start running every half hour. Now the bad news. They'll start as early as 3:30 a.m. until 1 a.m. That's almost 22 hours a day. That means every time a train passes through an intersection, your ears will be the first to know because of the horns. So how does the mad as hell mayor feel today?
And I'm sorry for that. And it's the classic, you got to break a few eggs to make an omelet.
All right. Well, as we know with the A line, those horns will be heard for a while. They can't stop until quiet zones are in place, and you can't get a quiet zone until all the testing is done and until all the intersections are approved without those flaggers. The flaggers watching the G line crossings are the same ones who used to watch over the A line. As for the A line, Denver and Aurora both have to apply for quiet zones through the Federal Railroad Administration for the horns to stop from Union Station to DIA. Denver Public Works confirmed this afternoon Denver's application is not in yet. And in case anyone was wondering, is the A-line working today? Yep. You just can't let the G-line beat you on the headlines, so go ahead and work. Our next question comes from a viewer named Scott. Can you have Kim pull some strings to have the voice warning to "Hold on, this train is approaching the station" to start before the train begins to slow down? Much appreciated, Scott, frequent writer. Scott, a DIA spokeswoman, told us the message that's currently on the train actually starts before the brakes do. However, the time between the announcement and the brakes isn't really all that much. As we mentioned earlier this week, DIA will soon record the new train messages with Kim's voice and a revamped version from Alan Roach. They'll reevaluate the timing between the announcement and the brakes. So, Scott, hold on. It's July 20th, a day that is meaningful to each of us for different reasons. We all have memories of where we were and what we were doing when we found out about what happened in Aurora. Joshua Nolan was inside the movie theater.
The tattoo is my personal memorial. It shows people that, I'm not afraid of what happened to me and that I'm open to discuss it. My name is Joshua Nolan, and I am one of the victims/survivors of the Aurora Theater shooting. I am one of the 78 physically injured victims from the theater. I was shot twice in the left leg and into the right forearm. I was in a hospital for 3 weeks to the date. I had 4 surgeries during those 3 weeks. I'm a single father, and I'm raising 2 boys. Currently right now, they are 13 and 15 years of age. First time they came to the hospital to visit me, it was a scary moment, and seeing that look in their eyes when they see their father all completely bandaged up and tubes, everywhere, and wires, and and I had trouble, and it was really hard for them to see me like that, and it was really hard for me to see that in their faces. Even though my injury is a constant reminder every time I look at it, but now I have something here to kind of look more and show that I move forward to it as well. So the tattoo basically shows the Century Theater. It really helps me, when I see it, and each morning and stuff. It gives me the extra strength to move forward.
The memorial for the victims and survivors of the Aurora Theater shooting will be dedicated 1 week from today. The 720 Memorial is outside Aurora City Hall. There's a crane for each victim and survivor. The group that created the memorial wants it to be a place for anyone who has experienced any tragedy to find comfort.
Honestly, the hope is to kind of take away some of the pain. Like, I hope that when people come here, they're not coming here because they're hurting. They're coming here, or if they are hurting, they come here to feel better or something like that. But that's definitely the hope, is to come here to get away from the pain.
Kaylin Bailey was sitting in the theater with the youngest victim, Veronica Mosier Sullivan. Time is supposed to heal wounds. The farther we get from an event, the less it's supposed to hurt. Often we put a lot of attention on the year after a tragedy, 5 years after, 10 years, you get it. But at 6 years, the days match up with the dates. The victims and survivors walked into that movie theater late at night on Thursday, July 19th, early in the morning on Friday, July 20th. An activity as simple as going to the movies changed forever. I was at a midnight showing of Batman 6 years ago and got called back to work because of what had happened in another theater across town. As I went to bed last night, I thought about the last time July 19th was a Thursday. And when I woke up today, I thought about what was happening the last time July 20th was a Friday. And then I thought about these 12 people. The most Colorado thing we saw today, a bumper. But check it out, look closely. It's an actual snowboard. Now, perhaps they run into things often and don't want to ding their car. Katie Brown saw this in Boulder on Foothills Parkway. She tweeted this using the hashtag HeyNext and said, "Who needs a bumper when you have an old snowboard?" And bumpers are meant to be used. And Danielle, I know you know how to use one.
I love that. Now I know what to do with my old snowboards. Just pop it in the back, right? Oh man, you guys, we are thinking about summertime with the heat out there, the clouds though drifting in across downtown Denver. Today, of course, another scorcher at 97 out at DIA. That makes 36 days in the 90s so far. And as we head toward the weekend, you guessed it, the 90-degree heat returns. Here around the Denver area, just tracking the clouds, no real wet weather to speak of. A stronger line of thunderstorms crossing southeastern Colorado into Lamar tonight. I think maybe one or two isolated showers at best, and then we'll go mostly cloudy with the overnight lows dipping into the mid-60s. By about 10, 11 o'clock, it's quiet statewide. Tomorrow morning, you wake up maybe a few clouds across the urban corridor, and then by the afternoon, here they come again. We're going to be tracking a few storms. 4 or 5 o'clock, rolling off the foothills onto the plains right there into the Nebraska Panhandle along I-80 into northeastern Colorado, and once again up in the mountains too. So get in those hikes early rather than later. By about 8, 9 o'clock, most of the activity across the eastern side of the state pushes out by about 11 p.m. It's toasty tomorrow, 95 here in the metro area, 90s along the eastern plains. At least maybe fewer folks in the triple digits. I know, glass half full, right? As we look at the 7-day forecast, low 90s with a better shot of storms on Sunday. 81 Marshall, eyes on the prize on Monday. We'll keep the thunderstorms in the work week pretty much each and every afternoon.
Well, it feels great in the next office. It's freezing there, so I'm just going to stay there for the next couple days.
60 degrees in the newsroom. An icebox, basically.
Thanks, Danielle. Well, we all know excited everyone got when Meow Wolf announced it was coming to Denver, but that's not until 2020. We have a while. Right Meow, there's an exhibit being run by CU Denver as an art gallery where you can get a Meow Wolf fix until then. I'm just going to see how many times I can say meow. The exhibit is called Special Guests. It's inspired by Meow Wolf and was actually curated by Meow Wolf, but it's not considered a Meow Wolf pop-up. I don't even know if I know half of what I just said. It's a side project. 5 artists from Denver were selected to design the space, and some student interns helped put that exhibit together too.
I do think that it has similarities to Meow Wolf in the regard that it is interactive and immersive and excites people because it's something that they've never seen before. People are able to come in and play around. They can play with the hot dogs and the banana. They can try on the costumes in the front, pretend they're in a talk show, and they can do karaoke.
A karaoke. There's a stage for that where you can probably sing some sort of song where you can say meow a few times. It gets recorded and posted to the gallery's YouTube channel. They've even entertained the idea of having musicians come do performances in the exhibit. It's open now through the end of the year, except on Mondays. And we'd be missing out if we didn't mention that it's called the Next Stage Gallery. How do you like us meow? They drive 300 miles an hour down a short track slowed by nothing but a parachute. So yeah, they're donating their brains to science when it comes time for that.
If you want to cremate me, if you want to put a headstone somewhere, whether or not there's a brain in there really isn't going to make a difference to us.
Tagging a perfectly fine mural is definitely not how you Colorado. And a sign that we are nothing but food filling in the outer shells of our camping gear. Next. For the first time, an entire professional sports team will be donating their brains for concussion research. This announcement didn't happen on a football field or in a boxing ring. The announcement took place at Bandimere Speedway, where 9 News photojournalist Tom Cole caught up with members from Schumacher Racing.
Thank you. Have a good one.
At 50 years old, Tommy Johnson Jr. enjoys a quick pace.
When you hit the throttle, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. You're going straight forward.
How about a 393 for Tommy Johnson? 3.932, 318 miles an hour.
He has been racing cars for over 30 years and never experienced a concussion, but he's willing to donate his brain for research.
You know, we do a lot of safety things now to prevent any concussions, but you never know. It would be interesting, you know, if I could help in any way. I thought it would be a great idea.
Between the rattle of the engine and the G-forces these drivers experience, there is a realization that they're no different than any other contact sport.
Hardest thing to describe is the feeling and the sensation to go from 0 to 100 miles per hour in less than 1 second.
For that reason alone, they make good candidates for research.
For the racing community to get behind this issue, it's just another way for us to really find what's unique about their sport, and also how many folks might be at risk for this.
Jack Beckman drives what's called funny cars and puts it simply.
The decision for me was a no-brainer. If it can make a difference in somebody's life down the road, it's a pretty cool feeling right now.
These two drivers have made a name for themselves, and now their entire team will be known for advancing the research involved with concussions.
If you want to cremate me, if you want to put a headstone somewhere, whether or not there's a brain in there really isn't going to make a difference to us.
For Next, I'm Tom Cole.
So far, 600 people have donated their brains to the Concussion Legacy Foundation. Time for another reminder, that's not how you Colorado. There's a beautiful mural in Steamboat Springs called Yampa River Flow. It's been there for about 2 years graffiti-free, until earlier this week when someone decided it'd be a good idea to go vandalize it, along with a nearby construction site and a pedestrian tunnel. Steamboat Springs police tell us they're hoping they can get videos from the nearby natural grocers. If they do find the person who spray painted the smiley faces everywhere, that person probably won't be smiling. Steamboat police tell us it likely is a felony criminal mischief charge because of the cost that it will take to fix it. That's definitely not how you Colorado. A sign that a business in Denver got pretty creative today, barely. Your feedback too, next. Let's go with, it's a sign of the amazing bear that is going to eat us all in sleeping bags. It's this sign that will now freak me out the way I just said that, because now I'm going to have nightmares. People in sleeping bags are the soft-shell tacos of the bear world. That is from our former coworker, Kelly Jensen. And I'm just curious if that means a bear comes up to a vegetarian in a sleeping bag. Does that mean he's ordering a sofrita? What's going on there? Cute sign from Mountain Khakis in Denver. Oh, we have some crossing a line. We have a big pile of you've crossed the line emails. Thanks to all of you. You keep sending us photos of parking jobs around Colorado. This one, though, is a little different. We want to give you someone a shout out for a good parking job. Don't make a habit of this, but check out the riding lawnmower. Dead center of the parking spot. Well-deserved. Congratulations to parking the way normal people in regular cars should be parking. I guess if you're going to drive a lawnmower like that, you should park it that way too. But send us some more good you've crossed a line where you're not really crossing a line. Some quick feedback. Someone on Twitter wanting to know why we're not holding the people accountable that overcharge the VA. It's not like we can put the money back in the accounts, but Mike Hoffman is trying, he says.